imagine like uh, a dev studio based in Seattle, that's us, that does VR, can go and apply for a grant, and suddenly you can bring VR support to Decentraland. Like that doesn't happen with other metaverses.
Yeah.
I can't go and just do that with, Facebook Horizons, or even like VR chat. If I wanted to bring a whole new infrastructure, like it's gonna take a huge team and a lot of people, a lot of time. It's gonna take a lot of coordination, and you might not even be allowed to do it, right? So I think that just what we've done, bringing VR to Decentraland, PC VR and Quest VR, that's a pretty big undertaking. But I think that's a testament to how flexible Decentraland's code base is, that anyone can come in and do that. And then also just how it's community supported. People can vote. It's decentralized, right? So everyone can come together, cast their vote, and be like, yeah, we want this for Decentraland. Let's make it happen. Let's put some funding behind it, and then it happens. So you don't see that with any other metaverse in the way that you see that with Decentraland. And I think that's a signal that it is a platform that's here to stay, and there's going to be a lot. I'm just one of many grantees, and a lot of people are working on a lot of really cool stuff for Decentraland. I think that's what's going to set it apart versus other metaverses.
Yeah, it would be cool if now you maybe talk a little bit more about like in your proposal you have those two key goals. You're talking about bringing VR access and also the builder. Maybe want to dive into that a little bit?
Yeah, so that was the first proposal that we submitted. So that proposal was actually focused primarily on Bylder,
Okay.
which is a product that we already had, where you could use VR or AR to create applications without needing to know any code. You just kind of put it together in VR and AR. It's interactive, it's great, it's easy, it's fast. So we had proposed that we would bring that and update it to give it the ability to export to Decentraland, right? So instead of figuring out the SDK and how do you create stuff that's interactive, I downloaded the SDK. I'm a programmer myself, and I was confused. I was like, "Whoa, this is really complicated. You gotta download so many things, and even then, it doesn't work." And by the time I finally was able to publish something to Decentraland, I was like, "Okay, this has got to change. We need something way easier." So the goal of the first proposal was to bring Bylder and allow it to export to Decentraland. And then as part of that proposal, we had put in it was almost like a side thing, like a separate thing in there. It's like, well, it'd also be nice to be able to view Decentraland in VR, right? But that wasn't really the main title of the proposal. It wasn't even really the main part of it. It was just one of the two parts, like you said. Uh, what to my surprise, that people were really excited about that grant, but people were very excited about the VR part of it. And I was like, okay, it's not just me who's excited about it, right? Because I know I'm excited about VR because that's the industry that I've chosen, but you never know, like, are other people excited about the same things you are? But
Yeah.
no, people were quite excited about VR. And in fact, once I joined the Discord, it almost seemed like every other day somebody was asking, when's VR coming to Decentraland? I'm like, hey, and now I know people are actually wanting this thing, and I'm glad I'm working on it. So yeah, our team went hard at work and was doing the Bylder integration. And then once the Bylder integration was done, I think I shared a video on that in one of our recent
Yeah.
DAO meetings, and there's a video I have on that. Fantastic. Without knowing any code, you can build interactive scenes and publish it to your land, and that's fantastic. But then I submitted a second grant after that first one finished to continue working on the VR part of it.
Hmm.
So as part of the first grant, we were able to get VR working with PC-based VR. So that means a VR headset that's tethered to your PC. It could be tethered wirelessly using AirLink, or tethered with a cable using Windows Mixed Reality, Vive, or any number of devices. Uh, but there was still a demand for being able to run uh, Decentraland natively on the Quest without any wires. And that was a major challenge because Decentraland is not built for uh, Android, which is the operating system of the Quest. Built to run on your computer, on your browser, that's great, but it's not built for the other one. So we knew there was a major technical challenge ahead of that. So we submitted a second grant after the first grant finished. And to my surprise, people were very in favor of that.
Yeah, it's another.
And yeah, so it's like, okay, this one's fully focused on the VR aspect of it, and we're gonna hit it hard. Uh, to be honest, at the time that we submitted the grant, the team was very nervous. They're like, "Hey, Sean, like, is this even technically possible? Can Decentraland run, on the Quest without being connected to a computer? Will it just crash? Will it just, crash and burn?" And I said, I think it can be done. And I know it's going to be a big technical challenge, but it can be done because it has to be done, right? Like Decentraland just needs this. It needs VR. We can't just abandon it and say it doesn't work on VR.
Yeah.
So yeah, we went to work, and I'll admit the first few months were scary because we hit a lot of technical roadblocks. Some of them seem insurmountable. People were like, "Hey, the architecture is just not compatible. Like, this is just not going to work. You need a web browser. You need to open it separately. There's so many different interoperability, issues, compatibility issues. Things just don't compile for Android. They don't compile for the Quest." But we kept hammering it hard. The team, has done a great job. Shout out to Clint Campbell, to Paul Gumpert, Natan Artmev, Mark Nguyen, Levi Leis. I could list off names after names, but yeah, the team really hit it very hard, and we got our first glimpse a few months after the grant passed of something working on the Quest. It was very buggy, very slow. It had a lot of artifacts, but we're like, look guys, it's working. I know it doesn't look like much, but here it is. And that kind of gave us that hope to keep going. And then once we broke through, that was our breakthrough moment. Then after that, we were able to keep making improvements, performance improvements, and stability improvements. And yeah, so pretty excited. It wasn't guaranteed that it would work, but I'm so glad that it did.
No, that's wonderful. Like again, like you were saying, like to be in a space that allows for these like super passionate groups focusing on these particular thing is what makes it so awesome, right? And obviously, I can see by your face, it's like a labor of love is key. I mean, you wouldn't keep
Yeah.
pushing over like those 2 months. I get it. I've been parts of different teams where it's just like, oh my God, sometimes you have to have that love, or else it's just like.
Yeah. Yeah, that is true.
And well, on that note, like I was curious, like how did you guys all come together as a team? You're saying Bylder was there before. Was it your team that you already had established, or did you like bring new people when you started that first grant? Or
Yeah, no, we so as a VR and AR development studio, based in Seattle, we've done a whole lot of projects over the years. Most of the projects we've done are enterprise based, so we do stuff for the medical sector, architecture, engineering. We've even done some for the entertainment sector, like VR laser tag games. So we've developed quite a few VR and AR apps, and we've got our core team, like our employees at our studio, but then we also have uh, a bunch of contractors and subcontractors around the U.S. and also internationally that we work with. So when this grant was approved, we kind of rallied together and was like, all right, this is a hard problem, but I think we can do it. Yeah, so we were already still friends and known each other. Yeah.
what do you think are some of the biggest challenges facing Decentraland right now? And like, what are your thoughts on possibly overcoming them?
Yeah, so man, I think just the metaverse in general is still in its infancy, right?
Yeah.
Uh, I think that there's still, I think one thing that will really draw people to the metaverse is kind of what I just said earlier, this idea of an economy, right? This idea of like, hey, we're all helping each other. And I think if Decentraland is only about games, I don't think it'll catch on
Mm.
as much as it could. But if it's about an economy
Hmm.
where somebody could actually go there and earn some money,
Mm-hmm.
right? You could sell products there, or you could even work, maybe manning a booth, or being an usher, in a building. I think that's where kind of this vision of the metaverse starts to be realized. And I haven't really seen that happen anywhere except for Decentraland.
It's like what inspires you? Like where do you go as a creator for inspiration? Like, and if you have any tips to share with other builders.
I don't think there's a single place. I think it's just being part of what's going on today, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's just talking to people. I think it's attending online events. I think it's getting out in nature too. I think giving sometimes if we're always consuming,
Yeah.
then our mind doesn't have time to digest what we're consuming, right? So you need to get out there and interact a little bit, but then you go out to nature to quiet your mind down, and then your mind can come up and put all the pieces together, right? And really come up with the ideas. So I think a good balance between the two. Of course, if you're always out in nature and never taking anything in, then your mind doesn't have enough of the building blocks to put together. So I think when you have the two of them balanced out, then yeah, that's where creativity really shines. We're always worried about the dystopian future, right? But I heard a saying, actually, the guy who invented the Microsoft HoloLens, Alex Kipman, he made a quote, and he said that people will always choose, like if they had to choose between utopia and dystopia, they will always choose utopia,
Mm.
right? So it's not the people who choose dystopia. It's more of, you could say it's very centralized, like a few people with agendas that are not in the interest of the masses, right? Those are the ones who kind of impose dystopia, if you will, right?
Mm-hmm.
But going back to what you were saying, the hive mind, right? Like everyone in Decentraland are voting for how to make Decentraland better, or they could vote to make it worse, but no, they're not going to vote to make it worse, right? They're going to vote to make it better. So they're going to choose utopia. They're not going to choose dystopia, right?